Chapter 351, Encountering a Conflict. Beside the blue jade platform, an elderly man clad in black robes sat cross-legged, dozens of blue jade plates circling him in quiet rotation. Suddenly, one of the plates trembled as a sharp gleam flashed across its surface. The old man's eyes snapped open, his gaze locking onto the disturbed plate. "What happened, Elder Chu?" A voice echoed as a black-robed figure stepped from the shadows. It was Lu Jun, master of Blackwind Island. His bearing remained as commanding as ever. "Someone has just passed through the city's protective array," Elder Chu replied, brows tightly knit. "Passed through?" Lu Jun asked in surprise. "You mean they unraveled it?" "No, they crossed it using a special movement method," Elder Chu said. "Likely a spatial secret technique. Our array blocks normal movement, but it lacks spatial restrictions. It is not without flaws." Another presence emerged from the darkness. The late, true immortal stage middle-aged man Han Li had noticed earlier. Upon seeing him, Lu Jun's stern expression softened into respect. "I've never encountered such a case," Lu Jun admitted. "Perhaps the Black Wind Sea is too remote, and my experience insufficient." "Such techniques are rare even beyond this region," the middle-aged man replied calmly. "I did not expect to encounter one here either." "Could it be someone from Azure Feather Island?" Elder Chu asked. "Unlikely," Lu Jun said after some thought. "I've crossed blades with Taoist Master Azure Feather many times. If he possessed such abilities, matters here would never have remained peaceful. More likely, it is one of the cultivators teleported into the city earlier today." "Let us hope they have no ties to Azure Feather Island," Elder Chu murmured. "Regardless, they are not one of ours," Lu Jun said gravely. "Anyone who can ignore our city's protections is a hidden threat." "There's no need for excessive worry," the middle-aged man said. "I have spatial array tools here. Add them to the city's defenses, and this loophole will be sealed." With a wave of his hand, he produced several shimmering silver array tools and handed them over. Elder Chu's eyes lit up as he sensed the faint spatial fluctuations and quickly accepted them. Lu Jun also clasped his fists in gratitude. "Our thanks, fellow Taoist Feng." The man waved it off. "How goes the task I assigned you?" "I reinforced the defenses at once," Lu Jun replied solemnly. "Azure Feather Island cultivators will not slip through." "They are not the true concern," fellow Taoist Feng said coldly. "If the Reincarnation Palace stands behind them, matters will grow dire. Complacency would be fatal." Lu Jun nodded firmly. The middle-aged man departed soon after, his aloof tone drawing no resentment. It was clearly routine. "I can manage things here," Elder Chu said. "Island Master, you should rest." Lu Jun shook his head, gaze lingering on the jade platform. "I cannot help worrying about Yu Qing. She merely wishes to share your burden," Elder Chu reassured gently. "Waveflow Island is nearby, and her cultivation has advanced greatly. She will be fine." Lu Jun finally seemed eased. Nearly 100,000 kilometers from Blackwind Island, arcs of golden lightning erupted from empty air, forming a radiant array above the sea. Han Li appeared at its center, breathing in the damp, salty wind as his expression relaxed. After orienting himself, he reviewed the map of the Blackwind Sea, then vanished into the distance. Though his cultivation left him fearless, unrest surrounded Blackwind Island, so he moved cautiously, suppressing his aura and flying low. Night passed swiftly. At dawn, the sea glittered like golden scales beneath the rising sun, a sight that stirred Han Li's emotions. This place had been his first foothold upon returning to the Immortal Realm, his homeland of sorts. Suddenly he halted, eyes flashing. Violent spiritual chi fluctuations surged thousands of kilometers away. A fierce battle was unfolding. After brief hesitation, he flew toward it, his body gradually fading into translucence until he became a shadow in the sky. Moments later, he reached the battlefield and hid within the clouds. Below, towering waves roared skyward as multicolored spiritual lights clashed amid thunderous booms. 5 Blackwind Island cultivators fought desperately, 2 at the Grand Ascension stage and 3 at the body integration stage. One Grand Ascension cultivator was a young woman wielding an azure feather fan, each sweep unleashing savage gales. Beside her stood a sallow-faced man, a blue mirror above his head firing thick pillars of light. The 3 others guarded the woman closely. Their opponents were 2 Azure Feather Island cultivators. Though outnumbered, one was a true immortal, a bald man with a grotesque fleshy growth atop his head. Before him hovered a massive black flag bearing the image of a lightning deity. As he formed seals, black lightning poured forth, forming a raging sea that shattered attacks and forced constant retreat. At his side, a goateed elder wielded twin yellow spears that transformed into earthen dragons, blasting spheres of light in support. Hunley's gaze sharpened. The young woman was Lu Yuqing, Lu Jun's daughter. "You dare leave Blackwind Island as its sole heir?" the bald man sneered. "Should I call you brave or foolish?" With a seal, 5 colossal lightning serpents lunged forward. Lu Yuqing swept her fan, azure winds entangling the serpents and slowing them. At the same time, her companion expanded his mirror, unleashing a glacial beam that froze the serpents into a towering ice mountain. "Go, young mistress!" he shouted. "We'll hold them!" The others unleashed their full power. Conflict flashed across Lu Yuqing's face before she fled in a streak of azure light. "You won't escape," the bald man laughed. The frozen serpents detonated, shattering the ice. Lightning reformed into a vast net that swept over the defenders, scorching them black in an instant. Meanwhile, the goateed elder transformed into yellow light, chasing after Lu Yuqing. The 4 Black Wind Island cultivators thrashed desperately beneath the lightning net, yet their efforts were no different from insects caught in a spider's web, struggling in vain. The bald man's lips curled into a cruel grin as he extended a finger. Above his head, the black flag crackled violently, and 4 thick pillars of lightning roared forth in an instant, striking down the trapped cultivators. The defensive treasures surrounding the 3 body integration cultivators shattered like brittle glass, offering no resistance. Their bodies were obliterated before even a cry could escape. The middle-aged man among them possessed a far deeper cultivation, yet even he was pierced through by a lightning pillar, his body blown apart with thunderous force. Seizing that fleeting moment, he tore himself free of the lightning net as crimson radiance burst forth, wrapping the 2 halves of his body together before fleeing as a ball of red light. The bald man's expression darkened. His hand seals shifted, and black lightning surged across the flag, which swelled to enormous size and shot forward in pursuit. In the blink of an eye, it intercepted the fleeing crimson glow, coiling around it and releasing a violent storm of lightning. A heart-rending scream echoed as the crimson light was reduced to ash. Moments later, the black flag returned to its master's side, shrinking back to its original form as though nothing had happened. Turning his gaze, the bald man looked toward the direction Lu Yuqing had fled. She had not gone far, yet even the elderly man could not catch her. With a flash of black lightning, the bald man transformed into an arc of thunder and pursued her directly. As a mere Grand Ascension cultivator, Lu Yuqing stood no chance of escaping a true immortal. "Did you truly think you could flee?" a cold voice rang out. From the lightning emerged a gigantic black hand, formed entirely of thunder, spanning an area like an acre of land as it reached for her. Before it even descended, crushing pressure swept over her, fierce winds tossing her helplessly through the air. Panic flickered across Lu Yuqing's face. The feather fan in her hand glowed brightly and expanded to twice its size as she swung it upward with all her strength. A towering pillar of azure wind erupted, howling fiercely and carrying faint spatial ripples, barely holding the lightning palm at bay. "A profound heavenly treasure?" the bald man exclaimed in surprise, but his expression soon hardened. He thrust his palm forward once more. The lightning hand doubled in size, black runes swirling around it as law power pulsed outward. The azure wind pillar shattered instantly, and the immense palm pressed down, freezing the air itself. Space constricted around Lu Yuqing, leaving her unable to move as despair crept into her eyes. Just as the lightning palm was about to crush her, spatial ripples suddenly flared beside it. An azure shadow flickered past like a wandering ghost. Without warning, the lightning palm halted, then exploded into countless arcs of thunder that vanished into nothingness. Freed at last, Lu Yuqing retreated tens of thousands of feet in a flash, stunned yet overjoyed, though she did not immediately flee and instead scanned her surroundings in disbelief. "Who dares?" the bald man roared, his fury shaking the air as he searched in all directions. The elderly man hurried back to his side, spreading his spiritual sense far and wide, yet found nothing. "Only a true immortal could disperse my attack so easily," the bald man sneered. Why hide like a cowardly rat? An indifferent voice answered from nowhere, declaring no wish to interfere in the feud between Blackwind Island and Azure Feather Island. Asking only that Lu Yuqing be spared, the bald man laughed coldly. If you want her life, come take it. He spun around and unleashed a colossal lightning strike at what seemed to be empty space. Thunder erupted with earth-shaking force, yet when the light faded there was still no one to be seen. A faint sigh whispered beside his ear. Let there be wind. In an instant the world transformed. The sea vanished, replaced by a boundless yellow desert under raging gales, tornadoes howling at the horizon. The bald man's shock was brief as realization struck. This was an illusion. At that moment, an azure flying sword pierced straight through his dantian, pinning his nascent soul. His eyes widened in disbelief as the sword destroyed it completely before disappearing. The desert illusion shattered, revealing the sea once more. The bald man's body fell lifelessly, a gaping hole in his abdomen, before silver fire descended and reduced him to ashes. Terror seized the elderly man as he looked about frantically. Knowing himself no match for such a foe, he collapsed to his knees, begging for mercy. His plea ended abruptly. An azure swordlight flashed, circling his body at blinding speed. In an instant, his body was sliced apart, his nascent soul extinguished, and the remains fell into the sea. Silence returned, as though the slaughter had never occurred. Lu Yuqing steadied herself and offered a deep curtsy. Lu Yuqing of Blackwind Island thanks you for saving my life, Senior. May I know who you are? Hidden within the clouds, Han Li retrieved an azure bamboo cloud-swarm sword along with the fallen cultivator's belongings, stowing them away as he prepared to leave without revealing himself. Suddenly, Lu Yuqing cried out in delight. Brother Liu? Startled, Han Li halted and turned back. Strange black ripples shimmered within her eyes as she stared straight at him, making him feel as though his very being were laid. Though puzzled that a Grand Ascension cultivator possessed such uncanny vision, Han Li descended and revealed himself. Lu Yuqing faltered, her expression conflicted, then spoke with faint reproach, questioning whether he had ever shown her his true face. Han Li raised an eyebrow and asked how she had recognized him despite his disguise. After a brief hesitation, she explained that she was born with illusory ghost eyes, capable of seeing directly into the souls of others. Outwardly calm, Han Li was inwardly astonished. Such eyes could see past masks that altered appearance and aura, but not the soul itself. His plan to save her and depart unseen had failed, yet he could not bring himself to silence an innocent woman. Caught between caution and conscience, Han Li found himself in an unexpected predicament. Chapter 353, Returning to Darkvale Island. Lu Yuqing seemed to sense Han Li's unease and spoke solemnly, swearing that she would reveal nothing, not even to her father. Han Li paused briefly, then inclined his head in thanks. He stated calmly that he was merely a wandering cultivator who wished no part in the strife between Blackwind Island and Azure Feather Island. Lu Yuqing laughed softly, saying she should be the one offering thanks, for he had saved her life twice. Han Li answered only with a faint smile. After weighing the matter, Han Li realized that exposure would not truly endanger him. Lu Yuqing knew him only as Lu Shi, an itinerant cultivator, and he had altered his appearance upon arriving at Blackwind Island. The Blackwind Sea held countless cultivators. Sharing a name meant little. With this thought, his heart eased. Lu Yuqing then spoke of the deepening conflict between the two islands. Warning that the flames would likely spread to engulf the entire Blackwind Sea, she expressed her gratitude once more and conveyed that her father held Han Li in high regard. Should he visit Blackwind Island, he would be treated generously, for the island valued its elders. Han Li merely smiled, silently declining. A trace of disappointment crossed Lu Yuqing's eyes, but she quickly produced a black badge and offered it to him, saying it was her personal token. With it, he could enter and leave Blackwind Island freely if ever needed. Han Li accepted the badge, glanced at it, and stored it away. He then advised her to return swiftly, as the area was unsafe, and departed in a streak of azure light. Lu Yuqing watched his fading figure, her expression tinged with melancholy, before turning back toward Blackwind Island herself. After some time, Han Li altered his course and half a day later left the zone of conflict entirely. From there he sped onward, crossing the sea like azure lightning. Half a month passed before he reached a desolate region with scarcely an island in sight. He halted, spread his spiritual sense, then dove into the sea, roaming the seabed until he reached a deep chasm. At its bottom, he found flat ground and began laying out array tools. The array was intricate, requiring over 2 hours to complete. When finished, Hanli chanted softly and a faint blue barrier blossomed, covering several hundred feet. Its colour was so pale it blended into the sea, devoid of discernible fluctuations, nearly impossible to detect. Satisfied, Hanli released a dozen lengths of lightning-restraining wood engraved with dense runes, his long-distance lightning teleportation array. Though Lu Yuqing had sworn secrecy, he dared not be careless. After a full day and night, the array was complete, with a seal, golden lightning surged within it, yet all aura remained sealed inside the blue restriction. Hanli inspected it carefully, nodded in approval, and departed. A month later, dawn broke over Darkvale Island, still cloaked in heavy mist. As sea winds blew, the veil thinned, revealing rustling forests and smoke rising from mortal hearths, peaceful and serene. Amid spatial ripples, Hanli appeared above the island, his form shrouded in a watery light barrier like a fleeting shadow. Seeing the calm below, his expression softened. He soon noticed changes. The former Luo clan village had transformed into grand palaces adorned with pagodas, pavilions and lotus ponds, resembling an immortal abode. Light streaked through the air as Luo clan cultivators flew about, far more numerous and stronger than before. Mortal cities, too, had flourished. Pleased, Hanli vanished and reappeared within a palace hall. There stood a massive altar bearing a statue of Hanli himself. 2 Grand Ascension cultivators knelt in prayer, streams of faith power converging upon the statue. Rising, they revealed themselves as Luo Feng and Luo Ming, both having advanced greatly in cultivation. At that moment, a young clansman reported that preparations for the ceremony were complete. Island masters Tai Yan and Chen Zhong had arrived, while Ling Yun of Dusk Cloud Island would come later, but not delay the event. Hanli's eyes flickered with approval. Those islands had once submitted after his display of might, and now even Dusk Cloud Island seemed aligned. Darkvale Island had clearly risen to prominence. Luo Feng dismissed the messenger and then discussed with Luo Ming whether Master Liu Shi would attend. Luo Ming voiced concerns over Hanli's long seclusion and the unrest spreading through the Black Wind Sea. Luo Feng rebuked him, affirming that such a figure could not suffer mishap, though he agreed to consider inviting him to appear. As they continued their discussion, Hanli quietly departed, reassured that Luo Feng remained diligent. Leaving the island, he travelled to a nearby sea region dominated by a vast vortex. Diving to the seabed, he entered a hemispherical blue barrier and found his earthly deity avatar seated within. Above its head hovered a thickened water law thread, runes shimmering within. Surrounded by swirling seawater and formidable pressure, the avatar had reached mid-true immortal stage, nearing its peak and edging toward the late stage. Chapter 354, Site Selection. Hanli was not surprised by what he saw. His earthly deity avatar had been cultivating tirelessly, manifesting heavy water through time crystals. Though interrupted at times, its progress was scarcely slower than his own. Reaching the mid-true immortal stage was only natural. The blue radiance around the avatar faded as it rose, and the vast vortex within the sea gradually calmed. "You've worked hard," Hanli said. "We are one," the avatar replied evenly. "There's no need for thanks. This is the heavy water I've refined over the years." With a turn of its palm, it produced a black pouch and offered it forward. Hanli reached out, but the avatar held firm for a moment. "Be careful. It's extremely heavy." Hanli braced himself, yet the instant the pouch was released, his arm was yanked downward, his body lurched forward, nearly thrown off balance by the crushing weight. A low roar escaped him as his arm muscles swelled and golden light enveloped his body. Only then did he halt the descent. Surprise flickered through his eyes. Unrefined heavy water was notoriously difficult to handle, but struggling this much over such a small pouch meant the amount inside was staggering. He sent his spiritual sense inside and was startled once more. This was a heavenly water pouch capable of holding an entire lake, purchased at great cost from the Transient Guild, yet it was almost completely full. Impressive, Hanli said with satisfaction. After advancing to mid-true immortal stage and the 4th level of the Black Sea heavy water tome, my refinement speed increased greatly, the Avatar explained. This much heavy water can nearly be refined into a small creek of level 4 heavy water. Hanli nodded, stored the pouch away and produced 2 empty ones. Continue cultivating, I'll supply as many time crystals as I can. The Avatar accepted them silently and sat down once more. Blue light surged anew, the lore thread above its head shining brilliantly as a tiny vortex formed. The surrounding seawater churned again, and between the Avatar's palms, a speck of heavy water slowly took shape, visibly expanding. Hanli was taken aback. Wait. The blue light vanished instantly, and the Avatar stood up. You said your refinement increased greatly at the 4th level? Hanli asked. Yes. Roughly 3-fold. Hanli was stunned. Did this happen with earlier levels as well? The increase was minor for the first 3 levels, the Avatar replied. The 4th was a sudden leap. Excitement flashed in Hanli's eyes. Early cultivation of the Black Sea heavy water tome was painfully slow. Even its supposed creator, an earthly immortal, had abandoned it at the 3rd level. It was unlikely he had foreseen this breakthrough. Hanli now doubted that the earthly immortal had truly created the tome. Such a flaw or secret should not have escaped the creator's notice. Continue cultivating, Hanli said thoughtfully. If another leap occurred at the 5th level, then aided by time crystals, even refining level 8 or level 9 heavy water might one day be possible. The Avatar resumed cultivation, while Hanli watched in silence. Suddenly, his gaze lifted toward the sea's surface. A streak of light arrived and halted outside the barrier. Luofeng bowed respectfully. Luofeng greets Master Liu Shi. What is it? Hanli replied from the seabed. Luofeng hesitated, then hurriedly said with visible excitement, Tomorrow is Darkvale Island's bicentennial ceremony. Would Master Liu Shi be willing to attend? Having been ignored many times before, he was thrilled just to receive a response. The sea vortex continued to churn without reply. Anxiety rose in Luofeng's heart. There's unrest in the Black Wind Sea. Black Wind Island and Azure Feather Island are on the brink of open conflict. Your presence would reassure everyone. Very well. I'll attend tomorrow, Hanli said. Thank you, Master. Luofeng bowed deeply and departed in haste. Inside the barrier, Hanli withdrew his gaze. His avatar would attend in his place. With mid-true immortal strength, it would easily deter lesser true immortals. He produced the jade seal map of the Black Wind Sea and pressed it to his forehead. With matters settled, it was time to choose a seclusion site. Darkvale Island was safe, but unsuitable. Though unlikely, his Liu Shi identity could still be traced. He would not take that risk. An hour later, a faint azure streak slipped from the sea and vanished. 3 days and nights passed before Hanli stopped, arriving in a desolate region of the Black Wind Sea. Empty ocean and abandoned islands stretched endlessly. No humans lived here, but demon beasts abounded, some at body integration, even grand ascension stage. Hanli surveyed the spirit veins. Inferior to Darkvale Island, yet still abundant. Remote and rarely visited, it was ideal for seclusion. The demon beasts posed no threat. After spreading his spiritual sense, he descended onto a small island. It spanned only dozens of kilometers, its terrain complex, a central volcano of crimson stone, barren from frequent eruptions. Beyond it lay forests, ponds, swamps, and grasslands brimming with vitality, even spirit herbs. Hanli nodded in approval. The island's spirit vein was the strongest nearby. In a secluded canyon, he swept out a streak of azure sword chi, carving a cave abode with ease. He refined it simply, paying extra care to the medicine garden. Array flags and plates were set in place. As the restrictions activated, gentle azure light flashed, and the cave abode vanished, blending seamlessly into a forest. The concealment bore no aura. Even true immortals would struggle to detect it. He reinforced it further with arrays from Crimson Dawn Peak, turning it into a fortress. Another array enveloped the entire island, left inactive for emergencies. Satisfied, Hanli entered the abode and stood within the medicine garden. It was larger than his previous one. With a sweep of his sleeve, spirit soils of various colours descended, some prepared long ago, others purchased along the way. His seclusion ground was complete. Afterward, Hanli brought forth bottles of spirit liquid, blending batches of spirit soil with practiced precision. while laying down layered restrictions across the medicine garden, dividing it into orderly domains. Only when all was prepared did he retrieve every stalk and root from his storage pouch, transplanting them one by one into this newly forged garden. While Hanli tended his plants, the grand ceremony upon Darkvale Island commenced. Crimson radiance draped the heavens, and black wooden pillars crowned with blazing braziers rose across the island, lending the occasion's solemn majesty. Upon a vast plaza stood 3 towering pyres hundreds of feet high, encircling a colossal altar. A deity statue over 100 feet tall loomed above it, and gathered below were the cultivators of the Luo clan, joined by those from the island's 3 subordinate isles, clad in differing attire. Before the altar stood 4 figures. At the far left was Luo Feng, beside him a fair-skinned youth, a scholarly middle-aged man marked by a black mole, and a beautiful woman in a flowing green dress that revealed a hint of alluring grace, all bowed in worship. Luo Feng's movements were solemn and flawless, while the other 3 bore faint disdain, merely observing ritual courtesy. True immortals paying homage to another of their rank was hardly heartfelt. As the ceremony neared its end, the 4 withdrew to nearby seats. The fair-skinned youth suddenly spoke. "Clan head Luo, on such a day, will fellow Taoist Liu Shi truly remain absent?" The scholar followed, musing that Liu Shi had secluded himself for centuries, perhaps cultivating some profound art. The woman said nothing, yet her gaze questioned Luo Feng openly. Luo Feng smiled faintly. "I met Master Liu Shi yesterday. He will appear today." The trio's expressions shifted. Tia Yan, the youth, exchanged looks with the others. "If so, that would be most welcome. The Black Wind Sea is in chaos. We need his judgment for Darkvale Island's path." Chen Zhong, the scholar, added gravely that Black Wind Island and Azure Feather Island were powers beyond comparison, and a single misstep could doom them all. Luo Feng's face grew heavy, offering no reply. Ling Yun, the woman, spoke lightly. "With Liu Shi and the 4 of them united, Darkvale Island would not be easily shaken." Taiyan smiled thinly, unconvinced. Yet as the ceremony reached its close, Liu Shi still did not appear. Anxiety flickered in Luo Feng's eyes as he glanced toward the seclusion grounds, while doubt deepened upon the trio's faces. Taiyan sighed. "It seems fellow Taoist Liu is indeed occupied." His words had barely faded when a speck of blue light emerged upon the horizon. Swelling as it approached, thunder like galloping heavens roared as world origin chi surged, streams of blue converging upon the altar. Immense pressure descended, pinning all in place. The trio stared skyward in shock. Chen Zhong whispered hoarsely, "Mid-true immortal stage." Blue radiance withdrew, revealing a figure descending upon the altar, cloaked in azure light, hands clasped behind his back. Luo Feng rose at once, bowing deeply. "Ancestral god Liu Shi!" Relief and elation swept the Luo clan, and all present hastened to salute. "No need for formalities," came a calm voice, clear to every ear. The blue-clad figure spoke of having observed the islands and the Black Wind Sea even through centuries of seclusion. Taiyan and the others stiffened. He praised Luo Feng's stewardship, rewarding him with a vial of profound moon pills. Luo Feng bowed in fervent gratitude, while awe flickered in the others' eyes. Such pills were priceless even to true immortals. He next rewarded Taiyan, Chen Zhong and Ling Yun with 3 near-immortal spirit treasures, drawing heartfelt thanks. More resources were entrusted to Luo Feng for the island's strengthening. Finally, the decree fell. The conflict between Black Wind and Azure Feather Island was not theirs to join. From this day forth, all islands would be sealed. None were to leave. Loyalty would be met with protection. Reassured, all bowed once more as the blue figure departed in a streak of light. The trio watched in silence, their former doubts erased, replaced by reverence. Several days later, on a distant isle, Han Li ended his meditation with a faint smile. His earthly deity avatar had confirmed that Darkvale Island and its satellites were sealed tight, just as planned. Thus shielded, he reduced the risk of entanglement and exposure. He returned to his spirit medicine garden, spanning nearly 1,000 feet and divided by radiant barriers into dozens of zones, some blazing hot, some bitterly cold, others shrouded in eternal night. The replanted medicines, once wilted, were already reviving. New seeds were sown, along with his primary bean, to nurture future Dao warriors. Foremost in his care were the myriad axis fruit, hierophall flower, and blood crystal lotus root, planted in the finest soil and most favourable grounds. For the lotus root, he had even fashioned a dedicated spirit pond, with all auxiliary ingredients gathered. Once these matured, the myriad axis pill could finally be refined.